Hello there, Move Nation. This is Jonathan coming to you from Move Remote HQ. And this week I've got an interview with one of my dear friends, Joe Winterschiedt. Joe was the high school chemistry and physics teacher at my high school. And so I met Joe in 1996, and we trained briefly together leading up to wrestling, which I did not do, which we talk about for a brief second. And we discuss a little bit about his training from when he was a teenager and leading up to now. He's 50 years old now, and he's training to be one of the top 200 masters athletes in the CrossFit Games. And so we talk about what that training is like specifically for that goal. We discuss goal setting in general and mindset and what it's like to be someone who's super analytical during a workout and how to get out of your head a little bit. And of course, we talk about the Move community and how that helps him on a daily basis in his training. So Joe was outside on his front porch on a lovely day here in Georgia. And so there's birds singing and planes flying and wind chimes. And so it's all part of the ambiance. So please ignore all of that, but also please enjoy this excellent interview. You and I have a long history, both in the gym and outside. As the chemistry and physics teacher at high school, I always thought you were strangely buff for such a smart, short dude. And towards the end of my freshman year, you started a wrestling team, or you were going to start one for the next year, and a bunch of my friends were interested. So I decided I might be interested too. In prep for that fall season, you held summer workout sessions, and I was the only one to attend. And so I would do the 7 a.m. workouts with you before my summer job as a caddy. I ended up not wanting to wrestle for whatever reason. And I think it was probably because you had to wear the onesie.
Well, the singlet, but okay. I'll give it that.
But I do remember enjoying learning how to lift like a bro.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, 11 or 12 years later, this whole thing called CrossFit is buzzing around Decatur. And I believe you dropped into CFED. And I think you were working on some stuff for like regionals or regionals prep possibly. And then we later ran into each other at regionals. And I got to cheer you on, which was really cool for me. I think it's safe to say that that was the start of a CrossFit fascination for both of us, probably. For you, for the competition side, and me for just kind of seeing what all of these people were capable of. Can you discuss a little bit about your early training days and how your concept of training or mindset evolved?
Yeah, so I have some very distinct memories of that whole thing myself. So if I can first start with the fact that before the regionals, I was training out of my own gym here at home, doing my own thing. Never had any coaching. I was like, but I fell in love with the CrossFit sport, and I was like, oh, now, I mean, if people are interested enough to listen to this and they go, oh, Winterschiedt was in regionals? I never knew that. What they have to remember is that in 2008, to make regionals, you had to be one of the first 100 people to pay $100.
Right.
And so, yes, I did make regionals. I went to Jacksonville, Florida. There were 100 guys who made regionals, and I think I came in 86th or 87th.
Uh-huh.
So it was a humbling experience, especially the last day, so running into you, talking to you and everything. And then on the last day, they had this event, and one of the parts of the event was a 95-pound overhead squat.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And
it's like 25 reps of it or something.
Yes.
Right?
And and I ran up to you and I was like, how do you do an overhead squat? The ceilings in the basement were not high enough I could ever do an overhead squat, so I'd never done one before. And so you kind of showed me how to do it, and I was like, all right. I got through the workout. Obviously didn't do that great. And And then when I came back, I realized, I might need some training. And so that's when I signed up at CFED over at New Street. And first workout was a 5K row, partner 5K row. There was an odd number of people that day. So I can't remember the guy's name, but he basically said, yeah, you look like you're in pretty good shape. Why don't you just do the 5K yourself? And as you know, I mean, 5K row for me is not that great. I don't know how long it took, but it was probably, an hour. So, so that was kind of my start to the whole thing.
Yeah. But CrossFit obviously wasn't the start of exercise for you. So when did you start working out, Joe?
So funny story. So I'm brand new to Mississippi. I moved to Mississippi from Illinois, and I was the smallest, shortest, lightest kid in a brand new school. And, it was a traumatic kind of time for me. So I decided, well, I'm going to work out, so it kind of started out of insecurity, to be honest. And I went to the YMCA and had a big sign on the door that said, you can't enter here until you're 14 years old. And I was 13 and a half. So I got turned away. And then 6 months later, I went in to the gym at the YMCA to pump some iron, which meant, trying to lift the bar off my chest on a bench press, right? That was the extent of it. And really since that time, since I was 14, I have not taken any big breaks since. So I'm 50 now, so that's 36 years of it. And so I basically just kind of weight trained, classic weight training for, 3 sets of 10 for many years. And then when I got to college, I did had a about 3-year stint where I did some bodybuilding. And then after that, just kind of went back to regular weight training. Now, you mentioned the wrestling, which, by the way, your brother did wrestle for me. He did get into a onesie. And that was a lot of fun. Just training with teenagers is fun, either in the gym or on the mat. Always fun. I spent 18 years coaching wrestling and just really enjoyed it. It's a lot of work though. And then when I stopped teaching in 2007, and I had to find something to do. I did some stuff here at my house, and then I found CrossFit, and that's where that whole thing started.
So what drew you to CrossFit in the first place? Like, because that's a pretty big difference from, not that you were doing bodybuilding all the time, but maybe even just circuit training in the gym.
Sure.
That's a big difference in mindset even.
It was actually the very first workout I did. It was just, it flipped a switch in my head. I mean, it really did. It was like, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, hey, I'm doing this thing called the Big Book of Muscle. It had 1 year's worth of programming. And I was like, and I'm almost done with it, and I don't know what to do next. And this was 07, 08, something like that. And he said, hey, there's this CrossFit thing that's happening online, and it's really big. You should check it out. So I went to the main site, and I saw the workout. I was like, I'll try it. First one I did, I don't remember the workout. The first one I did, I just kind of fell in love. And it was really the competitive aspect. I'm a pretty competitive person, but it was also the personal achievement aspect, the setting goals, the trying to be better than you were the last time. And that's really the big thing for me, especially now as I've done it for so long. It's, if I've been doing it I got my 11-year anniversary pin the other day. If I've been doing it for over 11 years in the gym, and I can still get a PR every now and then, that's something that I'm really, really happy with. That, I always I'm a goal-minded person, and setting goals and hitting goals is big for me.
What kind of challenges did you face right when you started?
Really everything. So I'd been doing it for like at least a year in my basement, and then I get to the gym and get some real coaching, and I realize, yeah, I haven't been doing any of this right, um, so it was really just the movements, and then what I think a lot of people find is you've been doing movements a certain way for a long time, and they're not to standards. They don't meet the range of motion, and then all of a sudden you have to change habits, and changing habits is hard. Those were some big things for me, as far as just changing habits that I had that were pretty poor. Like, as an example, a pull-up. Did you know that you're supposed to go to full extension at the bottom of a pull-up? I did not know that, and I had to learn how to do that.
At regionals.
Yeah. So yeah, changing habits.
Yeah, it's almost easier for someone to start who has no concept of working out,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, you have to build coordination along with that. So, you need to have some sort of athleticism, but if you don't have any bad habits to break, it's just like a clean slate.
Yes, it is. But I've been able to break those habits and hopefully start some good ones.
The goal of bodybuilding, is a little bit different than the goal of someone who does CrossFit, potentially.
Yep.
So what do you think are like the differences, and maybe what do you think are things that still carry over from like all the different things that you've tried over the years?
So the big thing is that, as far as CrossFit goes, is it's really overall health. It's not just how much you can bench, it's an important number, especially if you're an offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
But tracking yourself and tracking your numbers is important. But your overall health is too, and there are other numbers. Your resting heart rate. There's how long you can row, or how long it takes you to row a 5K. I mean, those are all important numbers, and they point out different areas of fitness. So some of that tracking carries over between those things, but overall health is not really all that important when you're doing 3 sets of 10. And you would never look at your diet and your sleep. You wouldn't even talk about those things if you're just going to Gold's Gym. Those are not important things. You might talk about how many calories you're taking in, but that's about it.
Why do you think those things are important to you now?
Well, one, maybe I've matured a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I've come to realize that my health is more important than just how I look, which is all that's really important when you're just doing the bench press and the bicep curls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've just matured, and I'm still, it still kind of comes from that whole insecurity thing when I was, the 14-year-old kid, literally the 98-pound weakling.
Uh-huh.
But I've come a distance from that.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of guys get into exercise for that same reason.
Sure.
Like I said, for me, like when I started, like I'd already been doing CrossFit since late 2007, and then regionals would have been May
Mm-hmm.
2009, and so that's a year and a half. I'd already been doing CrossFit, and I didn't even really like it all that much. It kind of sucked. It didn't make you feel too good sometimes.
Sure.
And I went to regionals and saw all those guys, you among them, all those guys doing all of those things back to back to back, really just like going after it. And the girls too, but I was paying attention to the dudes mostly. And just seeing what people were capable of. You talked about, you don't remember what your first CrossFit workout was. I don't remember what my first CrossFit workout was, but I remember the day I got back from regionals, I went to the gym, and I remember what that workout was.
Yeah.
So that was the point where CrossFit was important to me. And it was because that's kind of what I thought real men should be. It's like they can do it, they're capable, and they put their lives on the line. And I kind of, for a long time, I saw CrossFit as this like trial by fire type of thing. and that was just my story, but I think a lot of people, men especially, get into it because of some sort of like less than feeling,
Right. Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. For me, it just comes back to making myself better, making myself feel better about myself and attaining those goals. And in CrossFit, that's what it's all about. It's about tracking. It's about pushing yourself to be better than you were the last time you were doing the same thing.
Right. How do you go about pushing yourself in that way, like practicing your weaknesses, and what kind of improvements have you seen in yourself since starting?
Well, I mean, I've seen improvements across the board since, in the last 11 years, obviously.
Sure.
It's finding the efficiencies. I mean, there's a smart way to do box jumps and there's a dumb way to do box jumps, right? You don't want to go all out in the first 30 seconds, which that's taken me a long time to learn. you know, I mean, I can tell you, I can't tell you how many times that I've gone out and, in the first minute, man, I am smoking it. And then minute 2, I seem to slow down.
Yeah. Like, I'm really looking forward to getting to this rest period I got coming up. I'm gonna get there as soon as possible.
I used to say that a wrestling match lasts 6 minutes, and any workout that lasts longer than that is too long for me. So I think that that's a big thing, is that I've learned how to pace myself a little bit better, and I can handle a 15 to 20 minute workout a whole lot better than I used to be able to. I'm still afraid of certain exercises, but I try to approach them positively. I know I'm still not good at certain things. Like, I mean, if you give me a 50-pound dumbbell in a 24-inch box, it is going to suck. But I try to approach it differently. And that's kind of where my mind shift has gone.
Yeah. So just overall improvement in kind of how you think about workouts, or
Yep. And I think one of the things is, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And I try to ask myself that sometimes in the middle of the workout, sometimes before I start, and it's kind of a reality check. Okay, you're here to get better. You're here to be the best person you can be. So give it all you got.
is that just something that's come from experience, or is it something that you've specifically targeted or worked on?
It's something that I've targeted and worked on.
Yeah.
It's not something that came naturally. It's something that I have to force myself to do, especially in the middle of the painful workout.
Right. I don't know if you feel like you've reached mastery on anything, but what is it like to start something new and then finally do it?
So in mastery, you're not referring to the term masters like over 50, right? You're just
no.
accomplishing it with success, right?
Right.
It's a great feeling. I mean, like, for instance, like last year's Open, we had pistols, and that was an exercise that has that's it's been my goat for quite a while, and we worked on it for quite a while, and it just and it clicked, and it felt great.
Yeah.
So achieving mastery in individual events is really something that I'm proud of, but achieving mastery as far as being my best self, I think I still have quite a ways to go.
How do you go about setting goals for yourself? Like, why do you choose certain things, and then how do you go about maybe moving towards them?
Yeah, that's just kind of goal setting is an innate part of who I am. Whether it's in the gym, whether it's with my business, or even like when I was teaching. I mean, I always had goals that I would set for myself. So setting goals is something that is just part of who I am, and that comes naturally to me. When I'm in the gym and setting goals, I really kind of look at the workout or the exercise, if it's a strength portion, and I try to set something that is achievable yet difficult pretty much every single time I step into the gym or pick up the dumbbells here at home or whatever. So I'm always thinking about that. Hey, I should be able to get one round in X, and I should be able to not drop off by 10%. I should be able to keep the 5 rounds up at, this, and the numbers go through my head. I'm a big numbers guy. I'm very analytical. As you mentioned, physics and chemistry, that's kind of where I was for so long. And the numbers are just part of who I am as well. So I'm always running the numbers in my head. Hey, how did that round go? What's the next round going to have to look like to meet where I want to be?
How do you get yourself out of that?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, like even running a 400, it's difficult to get out of it. I just
Only
met.
200 more steps to go.
That's right. I've actually counted steps before, to per 100. And then I track off the percentage that I'm already done. How do I get myself out of it? The only thing that really does it is when I'm just having fun.
Right.
When you're having fun, the numbers don't matter, and sometimes they're even better. But when you're having fun, you can kind of disregard the clock sometimes. And
right.
That's a good feeling too.
Yeah, I mean, as a musician, I count everything as well. Mm-hmm. And as a coach, I find myself counting people's reps and not even realizing it.
Right.
But I think while I'm working out, I think maybe I have a little less emotional attachment to it than you do. It's maybe not quite as meaningful to me as it is to you sometimes.
It's pretty meaningful to me. And I think, a big part of that is that, I'm first of all, I'm older. My kids are grown and, almost both out of the house at this point. My youngest one's going off to college in the fall. And as you know, I sold my business 2 years ago. That leaves me and my wife, and which is awesome. But also outside of that, what do I have? Well, I got the gym,
Right.
And so I put a lot of emphasis on the gym because it's a great place for me. It's an enjoyable place for me, and it's what I have right now. That's a big part of who I am.
Right. So a lot of people, when they talk about CrossFit, they might mention the workouts, but a lot of times they'll just mention all their buddies. They mention the community. So as far as community goes, what does that mean to you, and specifically at Move?
I can't tell you how much the community at Move means to me. Honestly, it is where I have my best friends. It is where I've connected with people on a much greater level than you could at the gym. No. Yeah.
Right.
No, really. No, I have. I'm serious. Like, I can't tell you how many text threads I got going over here with the guys or with some of the girls and some of the coaches. And, those are the people I talk to. And it's not just about working out. It's like, like we talk about the pun, once a week. And I talk about that with Mike and Jeff as well. But it's not just that. It's everything. That's why I really like to get together with folks outside of the gym, because I find that, generally speaking, just folks that are in Move, I just kind of share a mindset with those kind of people, and it's easy to talk to them and get along with them, and I really enjoy my 8:30 crew. I shouldn't say my 8:30 crew, but
it's yours.
But the 8:30 crew, I mean, it's, I don't want to, I don't ever want to seem cliquish or anything, but man, that's just a tight group of people. And I love all of them. It's just, it's fun. I look forward to driving there.
Yeah.
When I will drive there.
Eventually when we're for a long time, CrossFit got this bad rep about being a cult.
Yes.
People drinking the Kool-Aid and that type of thing. And, it's interesting how you start working out in this way. You start going to a CrossFit gym and you hang out with people. And then you're first, I think, drawn in because the workouts are so challenging. Mm-hmm. And it makes you feel a certain way, or at least for me. And then you're like, oh, well, I want to kind of do better. Maybe I should eat a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't drink this, or maybe I shouldn't eat this so that my workout can be better tomorrow. And then, like you said, you start thinking about your sleep and you start thinking about all these different things. And then eventually you have to kind of like strip away all of the things you used to do, all of your habits, even some people, even some friends sometimes. And then, you start to transition to only having CrossFit friends. And so in that way, maybe it is a cult, but it's not like, it's your lifestyle just changes.
In a good way.
In a good way.
I mean, I have plenty of friends, non-CrossFit friends. And when we get together, it's like, yeah, I drank 3 beers last night, and tonight, I'm drinking this, and I'm like, dude, that's going to affect my workout tomorrow if I have another beer. So I got to stop, and then there's also, the whole health aspect too. I mean, coming from, my folks are some of those folks that spend Friday nights sorting their medicine, for the week coming up, and just saying that I don't want to be in that position. I want to be healthy without that and the side effects that come along with it. So
currently, you're training for the Masters Division of the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think about when we actually started training for that. And I were you 48 when we started?
Yes, 48. Yeah. And I was training for the first year that I'd be in the 50-year-old bracket. And I was about 48 and a half. I know that we trained for 65 weeks straight, something like that. Yeah. 65 weeks.
So what was it like going from regular group classes and doing the workout of the day with all your buddies to when you started training with me, specifically with this goal for 65 weeks?
Yep.
What was that process like?
Well, that wasn't so bad because you would build in, you knew what I was going to be doing on a daily basis with the WOD that you would program. So I'd be able to do a lot of stuff with the group, and sometimes Mike, Jeff, Trista, Eddie, Carrie, Brandon, somebody would join me afterwards to do part of it, to do my extra work. And I always appreciated that. I mean, honestly, that's something that really meant a lot to me and still does. Anytime someone says, yeah, I'll do X, Y, or Z with you, that means a lot to me because they're doing it because, out of the goodness of their heart, I mean, their goal is not to be in the top 200 of 50 years or older. So that it's kind of humbling. And I really, really appreciate that, but things have changed lately and it's a bit tougher.
Yeah, so we went through 65 weeks of training, and I have a specific approach, and it's based around my philosophy, and for better or worse, I impart it on other people who I'm training. Mm-hmm. And you get to that first CrossFit Open when you're 50, and how did that go for you?
I will say that I did not reach my goal. So my goal was the top 200 in the world. And I ended up 386th, which is, you're like, oh, well, I don't know. There's two ways to look at it. Oh, you're only 186 off, or wow, that's 186 people you got to jump for next year. But I personally looked at it as a huge, huge improvement for me. And I attribute that to the programming that you did. I mean, it really did help me to become a better full-rounded athlete. And I really feel like that was a solid performance. And, and maybe it just takes longer than 65 weeks to get to where I want to get. I worked as hard as I could most days. And I just have to put in more time, more effort.
Yeah. I mean, you did great. I gave you a stat back then, and it was something like an 82% improvement from the previous 4 years.
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
So that's if you can think about it a few ways, like you said.
Sure.
And then after that, we kind of refocused a little bit on some things.
Yep.
And I actually recommended that you move to a new coach.
Yeah, you did. And that kind of speaks to, you recognizing, that maybe I needed something different. And I appreciate it. I mean, you could have just said, "Hey, yeah, let's change it up and do it this way." But you pointed me in the direction of training Thinktank, and which, if you want to talk about humbling experiences, I mean, wow. I mean, the guys there do not mess around. We're talking about they train people that go to the games, not just the regionals. We're talking about people that go to the games. I went to an event there, and there were something like 40 people, and there were people from Germany, from Australia, New York, California. There's only one other guy from Georgia in the whole thing. And so when I went there, and we had, I think it was 8 events, maybe 6 events, can't remember. But my goal in that whole thing was just don't be last. And
right.
so it's humbling, and the coaches there have been phenomenal, but it's tough. And the toughest part really is not being able to be a part of the 830 crew on a regular basis.
Right.
That's probably the toughest part. Not just the workouts.
How has your training changed?
The big thing is that I focus on a couple of things. I focus on, one, things that are going to be in the open. There are certain events that are always going to be in the open, certain movements that are always going to be in the open. And 2, things that I'm not good at. So what that means is I row a hell of a lot. I mean, I row a lot, and it is because I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better. I do box stuff a lot. I do handstand walks a lot, and it's just that, hey, continue to focus on the things you're not good at, and eventually you'll get better. And so, burpees. Oh my God. I've done so many burpees in so many different ways. I didn't know there were so many different ways to do burpees. And I've done so many of them. But I'm getting better at them. So,
yeah.
and we both know that we're going to see them when the open comes around. So, so it'll pay off.
Again, I think that speaks to like the approach of me versus your coach, Mike, and maybe even specifically this goal. My approach was still CrossFit, in that broad, general, and inclusive.
Sure.
We're going to be very general and try to build up your overall health and athleticism, and then sprinkle in these things or have these focus moments of snatches or Olympic lifting or handstand push-ups or whatever those things were at the time. And then now, as you're honing in more on your specific goal of this one competition.
Yep.
And there are still unknowns there, but there are things that are largely known. And so now you're able to just focus on those specific movements. And I'm not going to say that you're not focusing on overall health, but overall health is not as important as the task.
Right. I mean, if you're goal oriented, like I am, I mean, you really have to put that one goal out there and take these specific steps that it takes to get there. I know that you guys have changed the workouts that you've been doing lately, and there's always something crazy going on. And I haven't done a lot of that stuff. And I will, after we get back and get through the open and hopefully regionals, then, I'll get back into it. And I look forward to that as well.
Yep. What do you think you offer as a member, as a sometimes coach?
Yes. Once every 2 years.
Yeah. But I think even as maybe a leader as well.
My hope is that people just see me as positive, try to stay out of the negative talk. And, I'm not just talking about the workouts or, people, but I just hope people see me as positive. That's really what I try to convey. that's why I look forward to new people coming in. It's like, this is not a clique. This is a welcoming kind of group, and try to go out of my way to welcome new folks, to make conversation with people, and just, it isn't about the gym. So hopefully that's the way people see me. I don't know, but that's what I try to convey.
What would you say to somebody who was just starting CrossFit or thinking about starting CrossFit? Could you offer them any sort of advice?
I would say that the biggest thing that I would say is have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I have people ask me a lot about, just working out in general. And if you're not having fun, then you need to do something else, I mean, now I don't have fun running an 800, and so I don't stop in the middle of it. Sometimes I walk a little bit, but if you enjoy what you're doing, it's just not work anymore. So I would say have fun, and I do. So
good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say before we log off?
I think people really want to know what Jonathan was like in high school.
Oh, you think so?
That's what I think. I think
that's
people,
funny because they never ask me.
What were you like in high school? Yeah, if we're closing up, I think I need to make sure that I close up with a little bit about you when you were. How much did you weigh?
Probably between 135 and 145 pounds.
Okay, all right. You had the long straight hair.
Yeah.
And you were pretty quiet. I remember where you sat, but I do remember that you brought the was it a mandolin that you brought into class one day?
No, harmonica.
A harmonica, and we had a hoedown.
We did,
where you performed with the harmonica, and that was in physics class. Can't remember what it was about, but I do remember that you did that.
I think it just came up in conversation, and somebody was mentioning harmonica, and I said, "Oh, well, I've got one," and I just started playing. So
it wasn't planned. It just came out.
Spontaneous, as all physics is.
Sure.
But actually, I got a superlative that year, and it was best harmonica accompaniment for a physics class hoedown. Might have been the one and only ever.
It was well deserved. Well deserved, Jonathan. But I did enjoy having you in my class, and I enjoyed, I don't know, I just enjoyed teaching in general. And I miss it a little bit, but especially having great students like you, and like that entire class was a great class. I mean, just a lot of good kids, and I miss that a little bit, but there's great people at the gym.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, and thanks for coming on, and good luck with all the training at home and at the cabin. And
I appreciate it. It's been challenging, but again, it's been fun, and I look forward to it. And I look forward to getting back in the gym with you guys. So can't wait.
Well, thanks again.
Hey, no problem, Jonathan. Talk to you later.
Come on, man.